Welcome to Jill on Money, powered by The Compound. I am Jill Schlesinger, your hostess, and I'm joined by Mark Talercio, your co-host, who's got his coffee. Well, let's talk about the supplies that you have for today. You've got your coffee.
Yep, I do have my coffee.
Where's the banana?
It is on the floor below me.
And the almonds?
The bag is on the floor below me.
The calculator?
That's right there.
And the pad. You've got it. Okay, so you're all set.
And my pen.
Okay. So, Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's very, very crowded subway today.
Oh, came in a little cranky, I had to say.
Very crowded, like a can of sardines.
Well, compare that with poor Duncan, who took the train coming in and someone vaping next to him.
Oh, really?
Which is horrifying.
Man.
I feel terrible about that. That's just disgusting.
You want to say something, but nowadays you really can't say anything because God knows what's going to happen.
Well, that's it. That's exactly right. So poor Duncan came in smelling and feeling like he was in a haze of smoke.
Why don't you get up and go to a different car?
It was super busy.
It was just too much. It's rush hour and you're doing that. That is so ridiculous.
And nobody said anything?
No one said anything. He was being surreptitious. He was kind of trying to hide it. So.
All right. I know. Whatever. Anyway, this is the program that airs all grievances of commuters. The thing is, when the subway and when the trains work, they are so beautiful. It's like the most incredible thing where you're like, that you get down the stairs and the train is there for you. You're so excited.
Yeah, there's no better way to get around the city.
Today I walked here, which was good.
If you can walk, walk. But now I have to do it daily because I'm taking Theo to school on the subway, and he just loves it.
Really?
He's so fascinated by it.
By just the movement of the train how it goes.
The different train letters, like we'll pull into one station and he'll see the A train or the C train pulling in on the other side, and the announcements. And then when we go home, he has his little toy trains at home now. So now it's all about trains. So he'll go home in the living room, and he doesn't know I'm listening, and he just reenacts everything. He goes, "This stop is Carroll Street. Transfer here to the G train." And then he'll actually say, "This is an accessible station."
Stop it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Every single day.
Dinosaurs out, trains in. Hey, gang, if you have any sort of commuting nightmares, we're happy to air them here. But we really want to talk to you about your financial life. So if you've got a question, all you need to do is go to our website, jillonmoney.com. Click the Contact Us button. A form will pop up. And on that form, you will write your email. And we do email episodes of our podcast all the time, but this show is about video, and we love to have you join us. And if you're not too shy, then do it. Make it happen. While you're on our website, there are so many great things there. We've got Jill on Money Live. That is our live webinar series. $35. How are my subscriptions doing?
They're trickling in.
I don't want trickle. I want waves.
It tends to pick up as we get closer and closer to an actual webinar.
I don't know if these guys know. Do you know Cal Newport? Are you familiar with him? Duncan, you'd be so into him.
I'm not.
He is like a productivity expert, and he also wrote a book called Deep Work, and he's got a new book out. You're going to love this guy. He's amazing. And that's going to be our next Jill on Money live webinar in March. And there's also a lot about attention lately, been written about and talked about. So he is going to make us more productive. Not that Mark and I could be more productive. Could we be more productive?
I think we're at our limit.
Well, yeah,
we're pushing it.
We do need an intern, but Mark hates managing people, so that's out.
Yeah, it's managing, and then it's training, and then by the time they get up to speed, the internship is over.
You know what? You burnt out because the first intern we ever had, who is now an executive producer at CNN.
Right. She kind of set the bar too high.
Too high. It's all downhill from there. Anyway, look, we'd love to have you join us for Jill on Money Live. $35 for a whole year. Mark had to pay $90 to get local sports for a subscription. So $35 for the whole year is not bad, right?
For the whole year? No, that's
Come
nothing.
on, it's pretty good. Okay, so today we are joined by Drew, who's on the line from New Jersey. Drew, how are you? What's a commuting story for you? You live in New Jersey, for God's sakes. There's nothing good.
So I live in Chicago now, actually. So my commute is about 10 feet from my bedroom.
Oh, so how has that commute been? It's been okay. Do you ever trip?
It's been all right. I was a big biker, so my commute was about 2.5 miles. I actually live on the same street that my office was. So about 3 miles from my house was where my office was. So about 3 miles, and then took me about 15 minutes to bike there. So that was nice. Even in the winter, I'll usually do that.
Do you think the key to satisfaction when you're working is about an easy commute? I think that's part of it.
I think it helps.
Yeah.
If I was driving, like one of my first jobs when I moved out here, I was working at in a kitchen at like a corporate headquarters, Capital, or no, what was it Discover, the credit card?
Yep.
My hours were 6 in the morning to 2 p.m.
Ooh.
So I was getting up at about 4:30 in the morning, driving an hour to get to this place, and then
Oof.
getting done at 2. That was rough. I was 25 at the time, and I just moved to Chicago, so I was trying to meet people, stay out at night, but kind of hampered some of those plans in my first year or
Mm.
so living here.
Yeah, I'll say. So what's going on? What brings you to us today?
I think my wife and I, like I said in the kind of submission, we have a pretty interesting situation, I think. Right now, we don't have any kids. Before we met, I had bought a condo, and she had also bought a place that her dad kind of fixed up. So right as we got together, we both had basically had two houses. After she ended up moving into my place, and she's renting out her spot currently. And then kind of out of nowhere, we decided to buy a place in Indiana. My in-laws have a house in Indiana, right in Michigan City area. If you guys are familiar, it's like on the other side of the lake, about basically 40 miles or so as the crow flies across the lake.
Okay.
So they have a house there. A family friend that's up there, their brother had passed away, so this house never even went on the market.
Mm.
So my father-in-law is very handy, does a lot of construction type jobs, so he's helping us renovate it currently. So we currently have the house that I bought initially that we both live in,
Hmm.
my wife's condo that's fully rented out by her cousin, so it's an easy tenant to work with, and then we're now still rehabbing this house in Indiana, trying to kind of put all our pieces together and what kind of would make the most sense for us.
Now, what is the game plan? Is it to keep all three? Is that your preference? What would you like to happen?
I think I'm torn. My wife is from the south side of Chicago, so all her family's in this area. So I don't foresee leaving like the Chicagoland area anytime soon. But I'm kind of getting sick of Illinois just because the taxes are very high. I could move to I could move to Indiana and still commute to Chicago without having too much issue. There's like a South Shore train line.
Okay.
So I think, and I'm 38, my wife's 34. So I think we'd like to have some optionality with this house in Indiana. Either that be a summer house or potentially sell one of our properties in Chicago and then live in Indiana full time.
Okay. So Indiana has no state income tax or a cheaper tax rate than
It's
Illinois?
just much cheaper. If we live there, and this is another thing we got to figure out, if we live there, the property taxes are half versus what it would be if you're out of state and own out of
I
state.
like
So
half.
it's 2% versus 1% from what we understand.
Still
of what
cheap.
So cheap.
yeah.
Okay, let's do some numbers though. So the house that you live in, you said it's a condo or you both have condos?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. What's the house that you bought originally? What's it worth?
So I'd say it's worth about 425. I bought it for 395, and currently have about 295 left on the loan.
What's the
So a
rate?
little 399.
Great. And what about her condo?
Her place, she bought it for 275, put 20% down, and now owes about 170 left. That's probably worth about 325 because she put about 40 grand into it. So it's probably worth 325, 350. And that rate's at 3875.
And is she getting market rate from her cousin, or is she giving the cousin a good deal because it's a cousin?
More or less market rate. Her mortgage is about 1,600 all in with taxes, and she's getting, I think, 2,500 out.
Oh, okay. So she's actually interesting. So she is actually probably net making some money.
Yeah.
Are you guys claiming her place as a rental property? In other words, are you depreciating it right now or not?
Good question. Because this was just in the last year that she's renting it out. So I think she's still claiming it as her homeowner's exemption.
Okay. All right.
But I believe she's claiming the income. We needed an accountant, to be honest.
All
to
right. We
figure
got to
some
get
of
on
this out.
that because here we are. We're talking to you in the beginning of the tax season. So we'll get cracking on that. All right. So but that's good to know. So 2,500 is the rent. And, you've got a good renter in there and the cousin. Otherwise, it's going to be a very bad Thanksgiving. Tell us about the Indiana house. How much did you pay for that?
So we bought it for 270. We knew we were going to have to put, and we've already put 40,000 into it for renovations. We were going to put 20% down, but our realtor just said put 5% down, knowing that we're going to have to put all this money into it. So we bought it for 270. We owe about 255 still.
What's the
And
rate?
the rate's 699.
Blah.
Yeah.
All right. How much more money do you think? I mean, you paid that much money, but how much do you think you have to go in the renovation?
We're about, I'd say, 65% done.
Okay.
So maybe another 20 to 25, I think. I mean, my father-in-law is doing a lot of the work, so luckily we're getting it on the cheap to
Okay.
some respect. So I would say, yeah, maybe 25 to 30 would be what we need to still put in to get it up to speed. But based on the area that it's located, I think after it's all said and done, it might be worth close to 400.
Wow. I put 350 down just for my
Yeah,
notes.
350. That sounds reasonable. But yeah, I think
Okay.
just it's a very desirable area.
If you have to live in Indiana, I guess it's a long commute from downtown for us.
Yeah,
Very tough midtown
it's right on the
commute.
beach though.
Yeah?
It's right on the beach though.
That's always a weird thing about those lakes. And Mark, have you been to Chicago? Never?
I've been to Chicago, but just in the city.
Because the whole lake thing is so fascinating to me. It is sort of like a massive body of water. So we think about lake and we think like some upstate New York.
Lake George.
No, I never think about that.
Like I had never been there growing up. I'm a Long Beach Island guy on the East Coast. So when I first went to this beach, I was like, wow, like you can't see the other side of the lake. So it's as if you're on an ocean beach.
Except it's not an ocean.
Yeah, it's fresh water. It's
Right,
nice.
right.
But on a clear day, you can see the city from where we're at. So it's
That's
kinda
cool. That's totally cool. So if right now you're swinging all of this, you're making your payments, everything's good?
At the moment, you know, and being in sales, you know, my commissions can fluctuate. So some months it might be very easy. Some months, you know, we got to maybe tighten the purse strings a little bit. But for the most part, we're in a pretty good spot, I'd say.
So Drew, how much do you earn approximately? Let's do each of you. Now be conservative because you said you are in sales. So let's give me the conservative number.
I'd say 125. That can vary, but that's probably a conservative estimate. My wife is at 92.
Okay. And how about retirement plan contributions? You making them?
I've maxed out the 401k the last couple of years. I just started putting money into a Roth. I know Mark's big on the Roth from previous episodes, but at a time in my heyday, I was making kind of more than I think what would
The
command
limit.
to be putting in the Roth. So I hadn't really gone down that route. So I'm just starting to put money into a Roth.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, I have about 230 in my 401k. My wife has, this is through a number of jobs. She has to consolidate all her 401ks, but she's at about 230 also, 235.
That's great.
And then my Roth has about 10K in it. I use that Acorns app.
Yeah. How do you like that?
I like it. It kind of, you know, and I probably should shift some of that money towards the Roth, but I put basically 500 a month into the Acorns, and then I round up my credit card purchase 10x. So it might be like $600-700 a month that I'll be putting in there.
Okay.
I have a Robinhood account with 128,000.
Tell me about that. How have you done, Mister? I'm buying my individual securities and meme stocks.
I started it in 2017.
Oh, good timing.
I had a really good Q4 of 2016 where I made like close to $100,000 in like a few months. So I basically just dumped a lot of that into Amazon, Apple. So I have a few kind of anchor positions that I don't plan on really selling anytime soon.
Yep.
But Apple's worth roughly 25 to 30K. Amazon about a similar amount. I have an oil stock that's worth quite a bit. That's done well. Had some losers in there.
No, I'm surprised. Are you kidding?
Try to offset that with some of the big gainers. And then I have in my Fidelity brokerage, I have a Fidelity brokerage that has about 25,000.
Why not? So what does that represent though? Like why the Fidelity brokerage versus the Robinhood account?
So I started the Robinhood again, 2017, and our, the 401k was administered through, I believe, Merrill at the time. And then our 401k got moved over to Fidelity. So I had some money through like an ESPP that I liquidated. So I just started a separate brokerage within Fidelity and then also have the Robinhood one. I like to kind of keep them separate in some respect. I don't do a lot of trading.
I gotcha.
The Fidelity, but I play around a little bit more on the Robinhood side.
Okay. And in general, is your wife just using her retirement account for investing, or does she also have a little bit of the brokerage bug?
Yeah, her father worked at the CME in Chicago, so he's
I might
started
know
some
him.
stuff with her. But he had created a Janus account for her when she was very young that has like 16 grand. And then she has a variety of equities from her job at CVS. She was doing like the employee stock purchase plan, and then also through her current job. So she has probably, I want to say, about 70,000 in equities, 70 to 80,000 in equities that she doesn't really monitor. She kind of just lets it, do its thing.
Okay. So when you look at this situation, I'm wondering what about the process causes you stress? If there is any part of this, like what's the pain point that we can address with you? Because I have some different ideas.
I bet I know.
All right, let's hear it. Wait,
I
Mark's
think-
going to guess first. Mark, what do you think his pain point is?
6.99.
Yeah, I think that's our biggest challenge. And trying to figure out if it makes more sense to try to pay that down as much as possible, or like use some of the extra funds that we have to try to dump into that. We plan on refinancing at some point, but I mean, the rates are still, I think they went back above 8% just the other day. So we're not anywhere near that point at this point in time.
What do you think, Mark?
I don't think I would pay it. I mean, I'm in a similar situation. I just got a new property with, and my interest is 6.25. But I know, within the next probably 2 years, I'm going to be refinancing. So I'm not going to be paying that down or putting anything additional on the principal until I refinance. At that point, then I'll make a decision. But until that happens, I wouldn't do it.
Let me ask you a question, Mark. Let me play devil's advocate just for the heck of it. Let's say that somehow Drew convinces his wife, I know she's listening, that they should sell the current primary residence
Yep.
and move to Indiana.
Yep.
And out of that, so no longer have that property, but we have, 125 grand in equity that came out fast. Now maybe clean up these investment accounts, free up some money, some positions that are no longer working for them. Should they just say, screw it, pay it down?
Pay it down? No, I wouldn't do that. I would probably take a chunk of it, keep it on the sidelines, and when it's time to refinance, do a cash-in refi and just have a much smaller balance.
How do you feel about that, Drew?
I mean, I don't hate that. The other thing I didn't mention too, like once this place in Indiana is fully renovated, there's a possibility we might try to rent that place out as well.
Oh,
So
okay. That's good.
That comes with a bit of a challenge because the town that it's in, you need to do 30-day rentals or longer. You can't do like weekly rentals.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you're right. Just you have another cousin that can live there full time?
I mean,
we got to get some of these cousins out. I mean, nothing bad's going to happen. I have like two overriding issues here. Number one, you're really young and you say you don't have kids now. Will you potentially have kids? Is that a possibility?
I mean, we're trying, it's just not happened yet. But again, I'm 38, she's 34. So I don't want to be 50 and having my first kid. So
that's like Mark. Mark was like 100 when he had his first kid. He only acts like he's 50.
I was 40. You got some time, Drew.
I got a little time.
All right. So given that, because you've said that as a possibility, I am very much against paying down the mortgage because I think you need to have the cash available for other things. So what I would say is you're at this really cool part in your life where you're making good money, you're putting money away. I really would encourage you guys to consolidate and clean some of this stuff up. I mean, I really think that could help both of you in the process. And are you how do you feel about a joint account? Like, what's like, can you both contribute? Because it seems to me you have about the same amount of money. Would you want
to? We haven't really consolidated our own finances, but to be honest, like we're pretty open. Like I'm very open with all my financials, like with all the stuff before we got on this call, like my wife gave me everything that she had. So like we keep it separate, but at the same time, we wouldn't have a problem combining things in some capacity.
Well, I only think combining for sake of ease of management, since both of you seem to have like a bit of a buy and hold strategy. I think that now that you are married and you are going to be married filing jointly, And somebody needs to take control, or at least take a look at how you can harvest any losers every year and really keep an eye on what your allocation looks like. Because I mean, you have real money that is in taxable accounts, right? You know, whether it's she's got 80 or 90 grand and you have 145,000, like you put that together, that's a big chunk of money. And I would want to be able to manage that and be looking at it every year, you know, maybe the beginning of the year, maybe the end of the year, whatever, but like harvesting your losses, reallocating, making sure you know what exactly your liability is. And, you know, if you have kids, there is money that you can free up pretty easily and create 529 plans for college funding. So I just think it's easier to manage. But Mark, did you guys combine everything, or did you keep it separate and then you manage it?
No. We each had our own accounts when we came into the relationship. We still have those separate accounts, but we also opened a joint brokerage account, and that's kind of like all new money goes in there joint.
And but how do you manage that from just in general? Like if you each had your own accounts, how do you do the management of that going forward?
I'm in charge of it. I don't think.
Well, help Drew out. Give him. Drew. Could you be in charge of that, or do you think she wants to be in charge of it?
No, I mean, she's kind of let me do my own thing. Like I said, she's not actively trading or anything like that. The equities that she's had are basically from stuff that her dad more or less set up, or through ESPP, through CVS, or her current job. She has, I think, 3 different equities just based on the 3 different jobs that she had over the last like 6 or 8 years.
But like, would you buy those assets right now if you were starting over?
I mean, the ones I have, I might dabble into. I don't know, CVS, maybe.
I'm just saying, this is always a good question to ask yourself, because when people get very nostalgic about some of their assets, I always say, well, it's an easy question. Starting today, would you buy that asset? And if the answer is no, then that's a good idea. Like, well, let's sell it. Let's not compound the problem. Like, whatever, like it's fine to have a Janus fund, but if it's like some suck ass fund, then you don't want it, and like get rid of it, and it's creating tax liability, then we get rid of it, right? But someone has to put an objective lens on this and be able to say, even for you, it's like, I've got some losers. Well, sell some losers and take some money off the table if you can somewhere else. Maybe that Janus fund has a huge gain, but it's not an asset you want to hold, but you've got losers. So let's clean this up a little bit. And in terms of the management, if you don't want to combine them, that's fine with me for sure. But I do think that Mark is right. Like, big picture, I wouldn't pay down that debt. I think that, you know, I just be careful about renting the Indiana property if you really do think you want to be there. Because it would be a bummer if you were like, oh, I have a job right now where I have to go into the office, but my new job is fully remote, and I could be living in Indiana and having an awesome life and not paying as much in taxes, and actually want to be there. So I just think that to leave that option open might be helpful for you guys.
In a basically brand new house.
In a brand new house.
That hasn't been destroyed by tenants.
Exactly. Or hasn't been, or by a child yet, or a dog. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing too, like with the Indiana house, it's basically like more of a summer house. I mean, it's kind of a dead zone in the winter. So I'd like to be up there. I don't have a problem with it. But again, my wife, with all her family on the south side, she'd probably prefer that being like more of a summer geared type of situation.
I think you guys need to sit down and have a chat and,
Chit-chat.
and figure out what, in terms of the real estate, what you guys want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Because by the way, you can is your house a place where you can have kids or not?
Yeah, so I have a 3-bed, 2-bath. Her place in Chicago is a 2-bed, 1-bath, and then the Indiana house will be 3-bed, 2-bath, roughly.
You know, it may be that you keep your condo with your 3.99%. And at the end of the day, maybe you're going to be like, you know what? The renting of her place, maybe you sell that eventually. You free up that cash. You have it. It's available to you. You can fund lots of different things. Maybe it stays as a rental property. We'll see. But you got a lot of assets. So I think it's a great story. As soon as you have kids, they'll soak up all of your money, right, Mark? It's all done. And your life is over, essentially.
First 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. And your time and your life. Do you guys have life insurance?
I didn't mention it, and I know I'm going to get ripped on for this. And this is again at a time where my
whole life
earnings were pretty high.
Whole
I got
life.
a whole life policy. I definitely got scammed by this guy for sure. And then after I started it, he left, and then I'm like kind of now in whoever's name that it passed on to.
Yeah.
So basically, I have a whole life. It's like $5,200 a month or
Oh,
a year.
God, a month. That was going to freak me out, man.
And
Okay.
currently, the cash value is about between the two policies because there's two tranches.
Of course,
it's about 18,000 in cash value. I don't know what the approach is. I think it's till 2065 or 55, maybe. I think when I turn 65.
But what's the death benefit on this thing?
Let me see.
Can't be that much. Got to be 50 or 100.
The first one is like 220, I believe.
All right, do me a favor. Call up the company and say, hey, do I have a tax event if I close out these policies and I'm done? And then get yourself some 20-year term life insurance and get $500,000 or $1 million. Probably $1 million, right, Mark?
$1 million, yeah, for sure.
Get $1 million of term life insurance, but call the company first, whatever 800 numbers on that statement, and say, if I close this out, shut this down, and get my 18 grand of cash value, is there a tax event? Ask them that. Very important. Usually, if you've put in more than the cash value, if you've put in from a premium perspective, if you've put in more, then there will be no tax event. And I bet you have. When did you say you got it?
Maybe 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Or no, like 6 years ago. So I don't think I've put more in than what the cash value is currently. It's kind of teetering close to about that same amount. But I didn't know
blow out of
what
that.
I was getting into.
And you and your wife both need $1 million of 20-year term life insurance. Okay? Just get it. You'll be happy you did. And if you never need it, God willing, that'll be fabulous. That'll even be better. All right. Before I let you go, because we have to go, you have some estate documents or no?
No.
Now that's what I'm going to get mad about. I don't care about the whole life. Now, don't you have a friend who's a lawyer? Do either of you have a corporate benefit with legal services?
Possibly.
Check that out. I want a will, a power of attorney, and a healthcare proxy. And if you don't get it through work, if you have a friend who's a lawyer, you can ask them for that. Otherwise, you can go online. You can try. It's not going to be huge, but you should have documents.
So with like a will and stuff, like I don't have any kids. I just got the wife.
A lot of real estate.
Got her out of real estate.
Would it all go to her?
Yeah, it would. But just in case, we like to have everything down. And since you're going to have to go and get a power of attorney and a healthcare proxy anyway, have a will. And then, most of the stuff will pass by contract because you guys, but is your name, are you on the condo, on her condo, and is she on your condo in terms of succession?
No, so my condo is all me. She pays me basically half the rent that she gets from her place.
Now, this is all messy. Clean this up. I'm giving you this is too messy for me. I can't stand. You have now legally bound yourselves. So let's make it easy. Once you're legally bound through marriage, it is time to make sure that all this stuff and all of these titling issues are cleaned up. Okay. And if you don't want that, if you're like, no, I want it in my name and she wants it in her name and we want it to pass to our siblings or to our nieces and nephews, then that has to be drawn up as well. So right now it's a little messy and someone is left with a mess, and messes are not my favorite thing, especially estate messes. Look at the list he's given me. He's given me God dang it, Jill. I got to go.
Some homework.
Drew, I love you. I love you. I love your hat. I love Indiana and the lake. I want to make this all happen. Consolidation, clean up, consolidation. Don't pay off the mortgage, okay?
Get rid of whole life.
Get rid of whole life.
The cash.
Yeah. Buy some term life. Don't forget.
Okay.
Estate planning, estate planning, estate planning. Boy, this was a very rich and full conversation. Thanks for joining us, Drew. Hey, gang, you want to come on the show with us? It's so easy. Go to JillOnMoney.com. Click the Contact Us button. You'll get a note. When you fill that out, there's a little box that says, would you come on the air live? Then you check that box. Mark does everything else. So who's in the studio today? Duncan and Daniel. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Always a pleasure. And we like to tell people to lift someone up. Do something nice for someone today. Change your work, change your wealth, change your life. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next week.